Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're starting a brand new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto Got Harem and Pregnant Yugao, Kushina, Mikoto Part 3. If you enjoy this story, please like the video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you want a part 2. Now, let's begin the fanfic. Kuretsuchi and Zombina were seen talking to each other when Naruto's outburst alerted them to their boyfriend's distress. Kuretsuchi turned to face him and asked, "What's wrong, Naru-kun?" "Yeah, it's not like you to make an outburst that loud and sudden," Zombina added. Grumbling, Naruto just crossed his arms before he turned to answer his two girlfriends. "It's just that Ba-chan is always so slow with this kind of shit. I could have become Hokage 20 times over before she calls us in," he explained. Though they didn't show it, the two girls were also annoyed at how Lady Tsunade was taking so long. For a cage she was slow as. Then a light bulb appeared above the two girls' heads. If they're going to be waiting this long, then maybe they can try doing some dirty things to pass the time. It's not like Lady Tsunade would be calling them in soon anyway. The two girls then walk to position themselves in front of Naruto and both get on their knees. It was good that Naruto didn't notice since he had his eyes closed, and before he knew it he felt his pants being pulled off along with his boxers. Next thing he knew was two slimy things slowly ing their way up his shaft, making him groan. "Naruto, what's wrong? Are you in pain?" Kakashi asked, lowering his book to check his student, only to be greeted by a sight he thought he would never see in a trillion years. Naruto was getting a double blowjob from Zombina and Kuretsuchi. "Ika Ika. Double trouble," Kakashi murmured before an incredibly powerful nosebleed rocketed him through a wall. Hearing the commotion, Shizune opened the door to see what was going on, and she was greeted to the sight of the double blowjob. "Hey, I want to join too," the medic said. Turning to face the medic, Kuretsuchi took her tongue off of Naruto's shaft. "Too late, Shizune, no more room," the former Iwa Jonin teased before going back to ing the glorious shaft. Pouting in annoyance, Shizune told them that Lady Tsunade is ready to see them now, much to the dismay of the three teens since Naruto swore he was close to coming. Pulling up his pants, he and the girls walk into the office to see Tsunade facing the windows. "Well, you four are probably wondering why I called you here, she asked without turning to face the teens. "Pretty much, Lady Tsunade," Zombina answered. Turning to face the teens, Tsunade noticed that Kakashi wasn't there. "Where's Kakashi? I swore I heard him a few minutes ago," she said with raised eyebrows. "Oh, he got a nosebleed seeing Zombina and Kuretsuchi here ing my," Naruto said with his trademark smirk while putting his arms around the two kunoichi. This caused Tsunade and Shizune to blush hard. Just then Kakashi walks into the office clutching his head. "Ugh, what happened? I have a migraine headache now." "Nothing, Kakashi. Glad you were able to make it," Kuretsuchi said in a sweetly innocent voice. Shrugging his shoulders, Kakashi walked over to stand beside the three teenagers. Shaking her head to regain her composure, Tsunade cleared her throat out before explaining what she had called them for. "Ahem, now you four are probably wondering why I called you on such short notice, right?" she asked, earning a nod from the four. "Well then, allow me to explain. I've received another rescue mission request from Takigakure." Zombina's eyes went wide at hearing this. Was the person that needed to be rescued who she thought it was? It appears that their Jinchuriki has been kidnapped by the Akatsuki, the very same organization that vows to collect all the containers of the tailed beasts to use for their own gain. "Ah, I knew it. It's Fu," Zombina thought in excitement. "Whoa, a fellow Jinchuriki. I'm definitely taking this mission then," Naruto thought with a smirk. "We've received a report from the R Border Patrol that the Akatsuki and the missing girl have been sighted heading into the Land of Rivers. This report was an hour ago, so there's no denying that's where they are right now," Tsunade continued. "I presume you want us to leave right now, Lady Tsunade?" Kakashi asked. "Yes, that's all I wanted to say to you guys. But before you go, Naruto." "Yes, Ba-chan. As of now you are a Jonin. Don't argue with me, brat, just accept it," Tsunade shouted. Oh yeah, I'm a Ing Jonin. Woo. One step closer to Hokage. Naruto shouted in pure glee. Shizune then walked over and handed him his Jonin vest. Putting it on, Naruto was striking poses in front of everyone for his new vest. Zombina and Kuratsuchi was giggling at their boyfriend's antics. Wow Naruto, you look really hot in that vest, it makes me wet. Kuratsuchi purred. Tell me about it, I'd like to know what a strong Jonin like you is capable of in bed. Zombina added before the two girls walk over and grab his crotch and respectively. Tsunade and Kakashi were staring at the hormonal teens with slack-jawed expressions. Who knew they were bold enough to act like that in a public space? Shizune though was staring at them jealously. Sure, she was part of the harem, but it's been about roughly 2 weeks since she was last pounded by Naruto. God, did she miss that ing huge of his. Kakashi wasn't doing any better than Shizune. For a 28-year-old he was still a ing virgin and had absolutely no game whatsoever. No way. Naruto is 12 years younger and gets more than me. Dismissed. Tsunade said, and with that the four shinobi leave the room to begin their mission. Sighing in relief, Tsunade then turned to face her assistant. So, how was Naruto? She questioned. Shizune went bloody red from this and began stuttering incoherent sentences. He's the best any girl could ask for. She said, maybe you can have some of that glorious meat too, Lady Tsunade. It's been over 30 years since you've gotten a good pounding right. Sighing, Tsunade was ashamed, but she was like 50 years old. The thought of ing a boy Naruto's age felt wrong to her. Wait. Shizune is 31, so it shouldn't be that bad, right? Maybe Shizune, maybe, but I don't think Naruto would want to my wrinkly. Tsunade said. Nonsense. Naruto would enjoy stuffing you, Lady Tsunade. Trust me on that one. Shizune reassured, patting the cage on the back. Alright then, we'll see. Shizune. Land of Rivers. It's been about 3 hours since our heroes have left Konoha. Here they are now in river country where the 2 Akatsuki members were reported to be heading for. In front of the 4 shinobi was Pakun, a ninkin Kakashi had summoned to track any suspicious scent. The scent is getting stronger. It won't be long now, guys. Pakun said. Alright, let's pick up the pace, you guys. Kakashi ordered. Right. The 3 teens answered. After about 30 minutes of hopping through ing trees, the group finally come across a large cave opening. Pakun sniffed the air before he nods in confirmation. There's definitely someone in there and they don't smell friendly at all. The dog inquired. Alright, thank you Pakun, we'll take it from here. Kakashi said. Don't mention it, call me if you need me again. The dog said before vanishing. The 4 of them then huddled to discuss how they'll handle the rescue. Alright, anyone have a plan we can execute with perfection? Kakashi asked. Well, we don't really know what these Akatsuki guys are packing, like their abilities, or if they have any Kekkei Genkai, so just let me waltz in there and have them attack me. That way I can observe their attacks and figure out how to deal with them. Zombina explained. Honestly Zombina, I know that there is legitimately no way for you to be killed, you still need to be careful against them. Kuratsuchi said, earning nods from Kakashi and Naruto. Zombina face vaulted at the other kunoichi's comment. Hey, I literally cannot be killed. No matter what you throw at me, I will absolutely not die. Just let me get in there and mess with those pricks. Oh fine then Bina-chan, you're so hard-headed sometimes, you know that. Naruto said. Alright then, it's settled. Watch me go to work. Zombina declared, cracking her fingers. Wait, before we execute the plan here, I have these mics we can use just in case something happens to you, Zombina. Kakashi said, handing everyone their mics. Good thinking, Kakashi. Kuratsuchi snorted. The team then hop in front of the cave and Zombina entered it alone. The zombie girl walked for a few minutes in the cave before getting to a dead end. The room was lit with torches, and squinting her eyes she spotted 2 figures wearing robes with red clouds on them, and in between the 2 figures laid Fu unconscious. Hey you Akatsuki bastards. Zombina shouted, getting the attention of Hidan and Kakuzu. What the? Who's this redhead bitch? Hidan snarled. Judging by that headband and vest, she's a Konoha Chunin to say the least. Oh well, I'll take her on. Kakazu said. Nah, let me take this bitch, Kakuzu. You just watch and learn from a real pro. Hidan said, stepping in front of his masked partner. TCH, well alright then, try not to get your kicked again. Kazuku snorted. Grr, you Kakuzu. Hidan said before flinging his overly large scythe straight at Zombina. Zombina side jumps the attack and flings several kunai straight at Hidan's. The knives embed in his face, making him groan in pain. Gah, you ruined my face, bitch. Hidan growled in anger before lunging forward. You're gonna learn not to mess with me and my Jashin. He then takes one of his retractable spears and hurls it at Zombina, and before the undead girl could react, the spear impales her through the shoulder, drawing a large amount of blood. Just like I planned, she thought as she lands on the ground, clutching her shoulder, pretending to be in severe pain while pulling the spear and tossing it. Pressing the button on her mic, she whispers into it before turning her attention back to the weird masochist. Hidan saw the small trickle of blood forming on Zombina's face and rushes over to pick up his spear. Ha 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 ha. I got you right where I want you, girly. Now you will pay for your sins against Jashin. Zombina tried to move in to attack the man, but she stopped in her tracks, unable to move. What's going on? Hidan then Zombina's blood off from the spear and places a foot on the ground to draw the symbol for Jashin on it. His body then changes its outer appearance, and in a few seconds he looks like Skeletor from Masters of the Universe. HM, ha 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 ha. I hope you're ready for a world of pain, girl, because I'm gonna have some fun with you. Say hello to my curse technique. Dead controlling possessed blood. Hidan shut the up and just finish this. Kakuzu yelled from the sidelines. You shut the up. Hidan shot back, giving his partner the death stare. While those two were busy arguing, we see Kuretsuchi and Naruto sneaking behind Kakuzu. Naruto picks up Fu's unconscious body while Kuretsuchi applies a transformation jutsu, turning into the mint-haired girl. Gah, fine. I'll just end this girl right here, right now. Hidan shouted before raising his spear and repeatedly stabs himself multiple times in the gut. The repeated blows making the zombie girl scream in sheer agony, much to Hidan's pleasure. Haha, I hope you enjoyed the pain, because here comes the coup de grace. Hidan then points his spear at his heart. Seeing this, Zombina feigns fear. Without warning, Hidan then raises the spear and proceeds to impale himself. As the spear goes through his heart, he s loudly in pain while Zombina tries to scream but couldn't find the energy to do so. Hidan's jutsu then dispels and Zombina collapses backwards on the ground. The zombie girl spewing out blood from her mouth. As he relishes in pleasure from the blow to his heart, Hidan regains his composure and takes a look at the seemingly dead zombie girl. Seeing her lifeless corpse, he laughs maniacally. Feel the pain, girly. Ha ha ha. So how do you like that, Kakuzu? Pretty awesome, isn't it? The Jashinist said, turning to his partner. Eat a. Kakuzu said before turning to look at Fu's body, only for the girl to wake up and launch a punch directed at Kazuku's nose, breaking it with enough power to send the man staggering back. URG. What the? The masked Akati growled, holding his aching nose. What the was that for, girl? Go on one, you masked cunt. Fu snarled. Kakuzu then launches his expendable arms and snares Fu, binding the girl, rendering her immobile. He then reels the hand in where she is pinned against his body, where she looks like she is being held hostage. I'll show you to disrespect your elders, kid. Kakuzu whispered into her ear. Hidan walks over, obviously wanting to draw more blood. Hey, let me do my technique on this kid. Who cares about her anyway? No one cares about the Jinchurikis to them. You want to piss off Pain-sama? Then go ahead and piss him off. I'll relish in your death at his hands. Kakuzu spat. What are you talking about? We are Pain-sama's favorites, so he wouldn't give a shit. Oh, and I can't even die, thank you very much. Hidan said. Oh yeah, try him. The two of them then get into another argument, much to Fu's annoyance. The camera then pans to the dead Zombina and closes in on her face. Her frown then turns into a smile. You guys want to borrow my sai? The two Akatsuki then turn around to face the direction from where the voice came and spot Zombina rising up. She then tosses 5 sai straight at the two men and performs a hand seal. Sai Shadow Clone Jutsu. What the? Hidan gasped in shock. The 5 sai then turn into several hundred of them and they all riddle the men's bodies. Kakuzu was quick and quickly spun around to avoid getting hurt. Ow 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 ow. Hidan cried out as he is riddled to the bone with sai while Kakuzu just shrugs off the pain. Zombina laughs at their pain only for Hidan to somehow recover from the onslaught and appear behind her by God knows how, catching her off guard. He then applies a chokehold and gets Zombina's neck in a really strong grip, choking her. You bitch. How did you survive the ritual? Bah. No matter. I'll just squeeze you so hard I'll break your spine. Or stab you. Again. The Jushinist declared before applying more pressure on her neck. Hearing the girl groaning in pain, Hidan then takes his spear and then repeatedly stabs Zombina while also getting the spear into his body as well. Zombina feigns pain while Hidan's in the pleasure of the spear stabbing him through Zombina. This continued on for 5 minutes before Zombina shoots her head backwards and headbutts him straight mouth, knocking out several teeth. Stumbling back in pain, Hidan spits out blood and some more teeth before Zombina faces him and takes a sigh and goes to lunge forward. Hidan couldn't react in time and the next thing he knew the zombie girl thrusted the sai into his head and gave a strong yank with enough force to rip the head off the body. Zombina then opens her mouth wide and munches on the decapitated head, much to Hidan's displeasure. Oh god, not the face. Hidan screamed as Zombina took 3 bites out of his face. After the 3rd bite, Zombina discards the head before holding her severely wounded torso. Okay, that was the most disgusting and foul meat I've ever had the misfortune of tasting. That tasted like burnt, she said, spitting out the chewed flesh. Oh man, Naruto's going to be working hard to stitch these wounds shut, my poor baby. Hidan's munched up head went wide-eyed. How are you still alive? And what in Jashin's name are you? The decapitated Jushinist asked in what sounded like fear. Because, Zombina said as she turns to face Hidan's head. Unzipping her Chunin vest and undershirt, she reveals her wounded torso to the man only for him to gasp in shock. I'm the liveliest corpse on this planet. Zombina-chan. Fear me, you Akatsuki scum. Kazuku was watching the entire exchange with a deadpan expression. Of course that masochist bastard would underestimate a girl. Serves him right. He mentally sighed. Kakuzu was so annoyed that he didn't have time to react to Fu's upwards kick that struck him dead on the chin with enough force to smash it while also sending him flying away a few feet. URG. What the? Landing on the ground with a thud, Kakuzu holds his sore chin and looks up at the Jinchuriki. You're ing fast, girl. Fu just sighed before she turned into Kuretsuchi. I can't believe how smelly you bastards are. Smells like 2 avocados, hate ing. The Jonin declared before another figure appears beside her, being Naruto. Naru-kun, how's our Jinchuriki? She's in a safe place. Naruto said before they and Zombina surround Kakuzu. Now it's just you, masked guy. You've got nowhere to go. Kuretsuchi spoke. That's right. You can surrender and come with us peacefully, or what were we going to do again? Zombina asked with a sweat drop. I don't think we've established that. Naruto said. Kakashi then walked into the cave, allowing the 4 to surround Kakuzu completely. Grr. Who are you people? The Akatsuki questioned with an angry tone. I'm glad you asked. We are. Kakashi started as he began spinning like a ballerina. The Konoha 4. He declared as he stopped with his arm somehow extending with a thumbs up. Cricket chirp. That name blows Bakashi. Naruto snorted. Yeah. That name is just. What? Kakuzu added with a sweat drop. Hey, it was the best I got. Kakashi said. Can it, you guys? Let's just kill these 2 wads and head home. Kuretsuchi shouted. Fine. Naruto, do you mind taking care of our masked friend over there? Sure thing, Kakashi. Naruto said as he walks over to the still injured Kakuzu. "URG, what are you going to do me, you demon brat?" The Akatsuki asked. "Oh, just this. Rasenshuriken," Naruto shouted out before flinging a Rasenshuriken at the man. The attack collides with Kakuzu's body and the masked man screams in pure agony as he is literally ripped to shreds by the attack. Kakashi, Zombina and Kuratsuchi were all staring at the display of awesomeness in awe. "No way. When did he learn to do that?" thought a very shocked Kakashi. "Naru-kun makes me so wet," Kuratsuchi thought with a blush. "Such a man with powerful jutsu," Zombina thought. After a few minutes, Kakuzu's cries of agony were ceased as the attack subsided and what was left were just a few shredded pieces of the man. Nodding in satisfaction, Kakashi then turns to face Hidan's head, which was busy cursing them out. "So, what shall we do about that one?" the masked Jonin asked his colleagues. "I got this," Kuratsuchi said, walking up to the head. "What sticks aren't getting away with this. By the name of Jashin, was all the head said before Kuratsuchi stomped on it, smashing the entire head into pieces of skull, brain matter and blood. "Damn, that guy was annoying. What was his name again?" "Skeletor," Kuratsuchi asked, getting shrugs from the others. The other three just shrugged before exiting the cave. They walk over to the unconscious Fu, who was left beside a cluster of trees, and grab her before heading off back to Konoha. Konoha General Hospital. That evening, Naruto, Kuratsuchi, Zombina, Kakashi and Tsunade are seen standing beside a resting Fu. The moment they got back with her, they immediately headed towards the hospital and got Fu admitted into a spare room. They've been watching her ever since and she hasn't woken up yet. "Man, she's out cold, huh?" Naruto asked, breaking the silence. "I wager she'd wake up soon. It's just a minor concussion she took from whoever you rescued her from, so it's no big deal." Tsunade yawned. "We should be heading home, guys. Let's leave her to rest and we'll check up on her first thing in the morning." "Wait," Naruto said, making everyone stop to look at him. What is it, Naruto?" Tsunade questioned. Well, she's a fellow Jinchuriki, isn't she?" he asked, earning a nod from the Sannin. "Would it be okay if I stay here to watch her?" Tsunade smiled before walking over to the blonde teen and placing a hand on his shoulder. "Sure, Naruto. If that's what you really want, I'll grant your request." Kuratsuchi and Zombina were giggling in the background. "Looks like Naruto's got a soft spot for her." "Oh yeah, he does. Imagine two Jinchuriki having some psychotic rough demon. Oh man, there goes another girl for his harem, you lucky son of an awesome ninja." Kakashi thought in frustration. Everyone but Naruto left the room. Grabbing a chair, Naruto places it beside the bed and takes a seat. He looks at the girl and damn, she was fine as hell. Wow, that mint hair color is so much better than Sakura's hair. That pink is nasty and I'd pay a guy to claw out my eyes if I ever have to look at it again. Naruto mumbled to himself. About half an hour would go by before Naruto felt sleep starting to take over. He tried to fight the urge, but soon enough he lays his head on the bed beside the girl and snores his off. Next morning, the sun shines through the window and the light reaches the Fu's face, causing her to wake up. The girl groans in pain and rubs her head in pain before she opens her eyes and was surprised at where she was. Where am I? Am I dead? She thought before turning her attention to the sleeping form that was beside her. Who's this guy? Wait. Judging by the headband and Jonin vest, I guess I'm in a hospital in Konoha then. Wait. So this guy must have rescued me from those robed douches. Turning to face the other direction, she spots a table with some bottles of water on it that were left for her the previous night. I am pretty thirsty too, so why not? She reaches for a bottle and loosens the cap and goes to drink through the water bottle faster than Might Guy runs 1,000 laps around the village. So good. I feel refreshed. Her thoughts were interrupted when the blonde guy beside her woke up with a very long and drawn-out yawn. Rubbing his eyes, he was greeted to the sight of the mint-haired girl all awake and seemingly okay. Well, good morning, Naruto bellowed. Good morning. Fu greeted back, trying to hide her nervousness. Naruto moves his head closer to Fu's to where their faces are mere inches away and observes her with wide eyes. Hey, what are you doing? Fu said, trying to hide her blush. Just checking you for any signs on fatigue face-wise, and by the looks of it you're A-okay. Naruto declared with a thumbs up. I'm sure I'm fine. Fu said. So where am I? You're in Konoha General Hospital. Me and my team went after you after we've received a request from that leader in Takigakure that you were kidnapped by the Akatsuki. When I found out why you were kidnapped, I wanted to risk everything I have to get you. The blonde explained. Why? You came after me even if I'm just a complete stranger? Fu asked with a blush. Yes, you're a fellow ninja, and in my book any ninja, no matter what village you're from, we all share the same goal, which is to protect our villages. Shinobi help others no matter where they come from. Is there any other reason beside that? You're a Jinchuriki and I couldn't let a fellow Jinchuriki be kidnapped like that, or worse killed. Naruto said as he places high hand on Fu's. Fu was flustered by what Naruto was saying to her, then she realized what he said. Wait, you're a Jinchuriki too? Yeah, as a result I was hated by most of the village for my whole life. Villagers would chase me, beat me within an inch of my life and leave me for dead. The only person who truly cared about me was Old Man Hokage. Looking at the boy with teary eyes, Fu couldn't help but embrace the blonde in a tight hug. I'm the same way. She began sobbing. I'm sorry that happened to you. I dealt with the same thing back in Taki, and the only person who truly cared was Shibuki, our village L leader. All Naruto did was smile before returning the embrace. Reaching his hand up, he rubs the back of her head and spoke words of encouragement. Don't let those pricks who gave you shit put you down. Use it to make yourself a better person, and when you become a better person, you're not what they perceive you to be. Show them that you're you and not some demon. Fu then jumped out of the bed and tackled Naruto to the ground and begins sobbing into his chest. Smiling, Naruto made no attempt to push the girl off, gently rubbed her back. The two of them laying there on the floor hugging. The moment was interrupted, however, when the door to the room opened and in walked Tsunade and Shizune. Seeing the two teenagers laying there, Tsunade had a perverted grin on her face while Shizune was jealous because she hadn't had with Naruto for a few weeks. Damn it. She's probably next. Shizune thought with a sweat drop. Are you two youngsters going to lay there all day? We can leave you alone for a few hours if you'd like. Tsunade said. Hearing the Sanin's words, the two of them separate, rubbing the back of their heads while laughing nervously. Oh hey Ba-chan. Didn't know you and Shizune-chan were here. Naruto said, trying to kill the awkward situation he and Fu were in. Just coming here to check on Fu's condition, and judging by the looks of it she seems good. Tsunade inquired. Why yes ma'am. Fu said. Alright then, if you believe you are 100% better then you can go. Oh, and call me Lady Tsunade because I'm this village's Hokage. Oh crap. Thank you Lady Tsunade. Fu said, bowing to show respect. Now young lady, no need for that. So you're from Takigakure? Tsunade asked, getting a nod from the Jinchuriki. Alright, I know that you're the container of Chome, and well I'm assuming you get treated like crap from the villagers back home, am I right? Yes. Fu answered shyly. Then I hereby make you a chunin of Konohagakure. I've already completed your papers this morning, so I'll send you your chunin vest later. Fu ran up to the Sanin and enveloped her in a hug. Thank you Tsunade-sama. Smiling at the girl's happiness, she returns the hug. It's alright Fu, I'm sure you will love it here. Hey Ba-chan, can I show Fu around the village? Naruto asked. Why of course Naruto, that's if Fu is okay with it, that is. She said, giving the girl a knowing look. By the way, you can live in the apartment 2 doors from his. Looking at Tsunade and then Naruto, she gives the blonde Jinchuriki a warm smile. Of course, come on Naruto, show me around. Thanks Tsunade-sama. Fu said, grabbing the blonde by his hand and her red bag and practically drags him out of the room and out the hospital. Tsunade just giggled at their antics. Oh boy, I can't wait to be the grandmother of the baby of 2 Jinchuriki. I haven't had his glorious in a few weeks. I need it before I'm farther along. Shizune sighed before they walk out of the room. Streets of Konoha. After spending the whole day walking around the village and showing her all the good eateries, Naruto decided to take her to Ichiraku Ramen's to have dinner before taking her to her apartment, which was 2 doors down from Naruto's. Fu had really started to like the blonde teenager throughout the entire day they've spent, and hell, she was definitely falling for the bastard. Now here they are just having a ramen eating contest and have already gone through almost 100 bowls, and to Naruto's surprise Fu was leaving him in the dust. Wow, this ramen is so good. Way better than the ones in Takigakure. Fu declared as she finishes a bowl. Tell me about it. Old man here makes easily the best ramen in the entire world. Naruto said as he starts another bowl. I know I make the best. Tsuki chuckled before placing over 3 more bowls in front of them. Eat up. For another half hour the two of them continued to gobble so much ramen that Tsuki was literally going to be even more richer than Naruto. Thanks old man. See you next time. Thank you very much for the food. See you later kiddos. What a cute couple, hehehehe. Tsuki giggled to himself with a very perverted grin. However, from the shadows in the back room we see Ayame watching the two teens walk away. No, he has another girl. I need to tell him. She thought before walking away. Fu's apartment. After eating ramen, Naruto decided to take Fu out to buy some clothes since she left everything back in Takigakure. Sadly for Naruto, he was holding over 10 bags, but he didn't complain. Walking up to Fu's door, she spots a letter taped to the wall. Reading it, she smiles before taking the key which was included with the letter and unlocks the door. Come in, Naruto. Fu ordered. URG, okay. Naruto said, trying to balance the bags in his arms. You can set the bags down on the table, Naruto. Walking over to the table, Naruto proceeds to place all the bags neatly on the table. Turning to face the mint-haired girl, he sees her placing her red bag on the couch. His eyes, however, made their way down to her butt. Despite wearing that white apron skirt, Naruto could make out her small but incredibly round. He continued staring when he felt his slowly harden at the lovely sight and, what felt like eyes glaring at him. Looking up, Naruto saw that Fu was just staring at him with an emotionless expression plastering her face. Oh crap. The two of them stay that way for about a minute before Fu winked at him and stuck her tongue out as if teasing him. Then what she did next was reaching for her skirt and she fed it upward, giving Naruto a pleasurable glimpse of her panties. Mint-colored just like her hair. So what do you want to do, Fu? My bed. Want to go to sleep. Fu said as she slowly walks up to Naruto. She presses her body against his chest and plants a gentle kiss on his lips. I suppose it is pretty late now. Naruto inquired. Okay then. Come with me. Let the begin. Naruto and Fu's mindscape. Kurama was seen sitting in a chair with a bag of popcorn and some Pepsi. He has been enjoying the show ever since Naruto began jackhammering all these girls into pregnancy. He has been enjoying the show his container was putting on for him. Hehe, this is great. Just then the door opens and in walks Chome, the 7-tailed beetle. Turning to face the beetle, Kurama waves at him. Yo. How's it going, Chome? What's up, Kurama, old buddy, old pal? I've been doing good. Have you come to enjoy the show? Oh yeah, I can't wait to see your blonde screw my mint-haired girl into submission. Well, have a seat, take some popcorn and let's enjoy this lovely dinner and movie. You know, Kurama, I wonder how the child of 2 Jinchuriki will turn out. I'd say let's watch this beautiful coitus. Chome then flies over and takes a seat next to Kurama and the two of them watch the show. Fu then takes his hand and walks him to her bedroom. As soon as they walked in, Fu had turned around and planted another kiss on his lips, except this one was full of love and lust. Naruto returns her kiss and eventually they are swapping spit, and the taste of the other's amazing saliva was sending waves of pleasure throughout their bodies and arousal was sweeping through their bodies. Naruto could feel his slowly getting harder while Fu's was getting wetter the more they were making out and swapping spit. Deciding to take charge, Naruto reaches under Fu's shirt and proceeds to unhook her bra. Tossing it aside, he then gropes her and gives them a tight squeeze. Naruto. Fu ed. Naruto then takes her shirt off and sits up and begins to on her be cup-sized. Wait, Naruto. Yes. Naruto looked up and saw that she was blushing. I know I'm not big and all, sorry. Fu said, ashamed of her small size. Fu, you look beautiful, Naruto said with a smile. The happiness that she felt from his compliment was too much for her to bear, and she just planted another kiss on his lips and forces her tongue into his mouth. Allowing entrance, Naruto could feel her warm tongue almost every nook and cranny of his mouth. The two Jinchuriki at the feeling, and by now their arousal was off the roof. Soon enough it became too much for them to handle, and Fu would make the first move and began ripping Naruto's clothes off with such speed that he didn't know what happened. Whoa, that was quick. He said. Well, I'm horny, Naruto, so you can't blame me. Her boldness was shattered when she glanced down and saw what she would assume was the biggest ever on a human being. Woo, that looks so hot. So nice and hard. Fu thought, wide-eyed. Naruto noticed that Fu was just staring at his. Chuckling, he reaches for his prick and gently pumps it. What's the matter, Fu-chan? Never seen a before. Well, you're as the first. I wasn't expecting that. She brushes Naruto's pumping hand away and gently pumps his massive spear, and the feeling of her soft hands made him hiss in pleasure. Oh shit. Feels like Kuretsuchi pumping me. He thought. Fu saw her lover's face scrunch up in pleasure and was pleased that he is enjoying her handjob. Feeling confident, she then opens her mouth and takes the head into her warm mouth. Naruto groaned out. Fu's blowjob was out of this world. Out of all the girls, he thought Kuretsuchi's was the best, but Fu came in a close second. Fu hummed, sending strong vibrations that made added to the pleasure, and it was driving Naruto insane. Fu. Naruto ed out. Fu then decided to try and take in more of his, already having at least 4 inches in. She then inched her way down the shaft, managing to get another 5 inches in. The shaft accidentally brushed against her uvula, almost making her throw up, but she managed to hold it down. She then brings her tongue into play and gently works the underside of Naruto's massive, making her new boyfriend out loud in bliss. Oh god, Fu-chan, that feels so good, please don't stop. Fu got even more wet hearing that, and she sped up her blowjob to such a fast pace that Naruto's orgasm was drawing near. Fu, I'm going to. Naruto was silenced when Fu placed a hand over his mouth so she could focus on pleasuring him and getting her desired drink of Naruto's sperm. Naruto gasped out when he shot a gallon's worth of cum into Fu's mouth. The sheer volume of it caught Fu by surprise, and she ed in pleasure, tasting the lovely cum in her mouth. Feeling his orgasm died down, she took the out of her mouth and was left with a sheer mouth full of thick cum. It tasted very unique. So, Fu, how does it taste? Naruto asked between pants. Fu just gave him a smile despite having a mouth full cum. She then swallows it all in one loud gulp. That tasted so good, Naruto-kun, she said, ing her lips. Well, you were so good, Fu, let me return the favor. Naruto said as he picks Fu up and places her gently on the bed, laying on her back. Oh. Love me, Naruto. Fu ed. Of course I will. Naruto reaches for her skirt and removes it and enjoyed the sight before him. Her mint-colored panties were so wet. He then removes the fishnet leggings she had on and without hesitations took her panties off, revealing her pretty. Yep. Naruto did make a mental list of whose was the best, and now Fu had the second best looking, only topped by Kuretsuchi. Cute little. Hope you don't mind me eating it. Go ahead. Fu said. Naruto slowly moved his head into her, and instead of gently ing her, he dove straight in and began motorboating the girl. The sudden pleasure caught Fu completely off guard. Naruto. Fu screamed out. Naruto's motorboating was sending feelings throughout Fu's body that she had never felt before. She continued ing out loud as Naruto ed and motorboating her tight virgin. Naruto then brought his finger into the fray and inserted it into her orifice while using his tongue to F her. In Naruto-kun. Fu cried out as the sudden feeling of his intrusive finger made her yelp a little. Naruto's eating abilities was just way too much for the inexperienced Fu to handle. Feeling a very powerful pressure build up within her lower regions, she then came. In Naruto. She screamed out and her fired out a water hose of female ejaculate into Naruto's mouth, filling it up with delicious juices. She squirted for a good minute until the torrent died down. Sitting up Naruto and began gurgling her liquids in his mouth before gulping it down like Gatorade. He then looked at Fu, who was breathing heavily with her eyes closed. She then opened her eyes and looked at Naruto, a massive blush on her face. That was amazing, Naruto-kun. She panted out, voice sounding very quiet. I'm glad you liked it, Fu. Are you ready for the main course? He asked, earning a nod from the girl. He positioned himself over her and proceeded to guide his prick near her entrance before she stopped him. Naruto, wait. Yes. I'm just a bit nervous is all. I mean, look at the size of that compared to me. I'm pretty sure my vagina is smaller proportionally and, well, I'm a pretty petite girl in general. Naruto then kissed her gently on the lips. I wouldn't you into a quivering mess, it feels wrong. I promise I'll make true love to you. He reassured. Smiling, Fu then nodding, letting him it was okay for him to enter her. Naruto then guides his massive spear into her entrance and was immediately met by resistance from her hymen. Don't stop, please. Fu pleaded. Naruto then gave a gentle but sharp thrust and bypassed her hymen. The feeling of losing her virginity made Fu gasp in pleasure as the head made its way into her vagina. The sheer girth making her quietly into Naruto's ear. Naruto had a bit of a struggle getting the into her because of how tight she was. Thanks to her smaller stature compared to the other girls, Naruto gritted his teeth and tried his hardest to fit 5 inches of his into her, but the tightness was just out of this world. In Naruto, keep going. Fu begged in sheer bliss. As you wish. Naruto said and gave a sharp thrust, managing to spear almost his entire length into her, making the girl at the feeling. Ah, that's my new addiction right there. Fu ed. Naruto then began the cycle of thrusting into her, then pulling out and then thrusting into her again gently. He didn't want to accidentally hurt her with how big he was combined with her petite stature. The two of them bit into each other's ear and ed for the other at the immense pleasure they were receiving from each other. Each thrust Naruto gave her was so gentle but perfect it was driving her literally insane. She opened her mouth too for him, but she was feeling so damn good that she just couldn't. Would Shibuki be shocked at seeing his sister like this? Would he be happy she found love? All that didn't matter now as Naruto continued to thrust into her. Oh God, Naruto. She panted out. Don't stop. Naruto then went a tad bit faster in his thrusts while still maintaining the gentleness he put into it. Oh God. Fu ed out. She then got an idea. Naruto. Stop for a second. What's wrong? I got a good idea which I'm sure you'll love. She said with a wink. Do show. Naruto chuckled as he pulls out of Fu and gets off her. Getting up, Fu then goes on all fours, with a hand seal she. Made wings sprout out of her lower back. Whoa, you have Chome the beetle. That's awesome. I think I get where you're going with this. Naruto said in surprise. If you know what I want, then come and give it to me. She teased, shaking her small but perfectly plump at him. If that's your game, then let me show you mine. Naruto said, performing a hand seal, and to Fu's pleasure the Kyuubi's chakra began flaring around him. Oh boy, he couldn't wait to show Fu a good time. If you're done, come and show me a good time. Fu teased, shaking hair at him before noticing that his freaking huge was more veiny than it already was and was pulsating. God, did she want that in her now? Prepare yourself, Fu-chan. Naruto smirked smugly. Crawling up to Fu's rear, he positions his into her wet vaginal opening and slowly inserts it in, inch by agonizing inch, making Fu cry out in pleasure. Go good. Fu ed. Naruto then decided to grab both her wings and pulled her back with enough force to get his all the way into her, making her howl in pleasure. Oh my God. Fu screamed as she was filled with all 17 inches of his meat scepter that her was touching his belly. Naruto then pulled half his out and pulled her by her wings again, spearing her once more. the sheer pleasure of his thrusts making her howl. Naruto then began withdrawing and then pulled her wings with such force and rhythm that Fu was soon ed into trance-like state. The sounds of his sharp thrusts which caused his pelvis to impact her lovely echoing in the room. Fu then leaned back to where she was able to lean against Naruto's chest and they engaged in a passionate kiss. Not once did Naruto cease his perfect thrusts as he continued to pound into her. Not too hard, not too soft, but perfect just for Fu. Their passionate lovemaking and intense making out was easily the best thing they've ever experienced. Fu easily came second place in terms of lovemaking. They then separate lips and Fu ed on his neck giving him a noticeable hickey as Naruto continued to thrust into her. After about a minute of their lovemaking, Fu noticed something that she didn't even see before. His is so huge that she could see the bulge in her flat stomach. She watched it withdraw and thrust back into her and the sight was so pleasing she didn't notice that her second orgasm was approaching. In Naruto, she cried out as she came all over his. The feeling of the juices spraying his made him quiver. Erg. Naruto grunted out as Fu went back on all fours. Keep going. Fu begged. Naruto wasted no time in grabbing her wings and pulling her back onto his, impaling her once more. God, that seriously is going to be my new addiction. Naruto then repeated the cycle of pulling his out and pulling her back onto it via her wings and continued to do so for a good 30 minutes at a steady pace before. Fu. I can't hold it. He cried out. Please. Come inside my Naruto. She said. Oh. God. Naruto pulled out once more. With his grip on her wings tightening, he pulls her back onto his so powerfully that he impaled not only his, but also got his large ballsack into her as well. The glands breaking through her cervix and pushes into her uterus, and soon enough the seven-tailed Jinchuriki felt his cum flooding her uterus to the max and she was left ing at the feeling. Fu's head drooped down and she saw her belly swell up from the sheer amount of cum that had flooded her. She was appalled by how wide that looked. Naruto leaned forward breathing heavily and kissed her ear before nibbling it. The two of them then revert back to their normal forms. That was amazing. Truly amazing, Naruto. Fu got out between pants. I'm glad you liked it. Naruto kissed her cheek before he pulled his huge out. Fu then felt something and looking underneath herself she saw her cum inflated belly deflate as a lot of the cum spilled out of her. That's hot. The two exhausted lovers then collapse onto the bed, but Naruto didn't lay next to her. He had one thing to take care of, and that was scooping up the spilled cum from the sheets with his hands and carefully puts it back into Fu's. So desperate for me to be inseminated. She teased. I want you to bear my child. He said with a wink. Well, I can't wait then. Naruto then goes to lay next to her and spoons her. Good night, Fu. Good night, Naruto. They both rub her belly before falling asleep with big smiles on their faces. Fu then dreamed of her new, happy life with Naruto. Kuretsuchi, Zombina, Naruto and Kakashi were seen hopping along through the trees in Fire Country. Recently there have been numerous reports from the border patrol of an Akatsuki member roaming the area. Catching wind of this, Tsunade sent the four to locate and capture this member and bring them back for interrogation. Hopping through trees for hours on end gets really boring. Naruto complained. Stop complaining, honey. We do this all the time, so you should be used to it by now. Kuretsuchi scolded her boyfriend. Keep complaining, sweetie, and I'll turn you into a zombie. Zombina said, trying to be intimidating. Recently the zombie girl had been promoted to Jonin, and to celebrate that, Naruto made love to her for almost 27 hours straight. Kuretsuchi was jealous because she was on a mission with Anko, Hana and Tenten and was unable to join the incredible and very hard marathon. They're right, Naruto. Gotta get used to it, kiddo. Kakashi spoke. Fine, whatever you three say. The blonde groaned. For the next half hour the four Jonin continued to hop through the trees before stopping in a small clearing. Right now it was around 10 at night and they decided to set up camp for the night. Kakashi had already set up the 2 tents while the other 3 went out to get firewood. Looking at the direction where they went, he sweat dropped. They've been gone a while. Kakashi whispered to himself. Deciding not to look for them, he proceeds to go into his tent when he heard a noise. Ah! Jumping, Kakashi readies his lightning blade. What the was that? Ah, yes. That sounds like Kuretsuchi and Zombina Ing. Wait a damn minute. Realizing what the three teens might be doing, Kakashi suffered a nosebleed that launches him into Earth's orbit, and the speed he was launched sent him to a galaxy far, far away. Somewhere in the woods, a half-mile out. Naru-kun, me harder. Kuretsuchi ed. Ah, keep doing that, Naru-kun, please fist me even harder. Zombina got out between pants. You two so good it makes me want to drive myself even deeper into both of you. Naruto grunted, picking up the pace. Kuretsuchi was leaning forward against the tree with her hands on the trunk supporting her. Her pants and panties laid a few feet away with her sticking out. Next to her was Zombina in the same position, and instead of being rammed with, she instead was getting her undead vagina furiously fisted. Naruto was right behind them, pleasuring them with extreme efficiency. Ah, Naruto. Yes. Kami, yes. Oh dear God. The two girls cried out as Naruto picked up the force and speed of his thrusts and fisting into the two girls that the tree was shaking so much that leaves were falling off. It looked like the wind was blowing through the branches when in reality Naruto's thrusts were the cause of it. I'm close. Naruto got out between pants. Oh God. Kami, yes. Kuretsuchi and Zombina continued to cry out in pure bliss as Naruto's more powerful thrusts drove his so deep into Kuretsuchi's that it was poking at her uterus while Naruto shoved his fist up to the wrist up Zombina's with an audible squish. The sounds of his hips slapping against Kuretsuchi's plump echoing throughout the woods. I'm coming, the blonde declared. Come on our faces, and on our mouths. Kuretsuchi managed to say before she and Zombina squirted in unison. Ah! The two girls cried out. Hurry. Get on your knees. Naruto said as he pulled out his and fist out of the girls. Turning around, the two girls then reach for his and begin pumping it furiously. Ah! Naruto gasped as he came. His jetted out a massive load of semen that first splattered all over his girlfriend's faces, covering them completely. Halting their handjobs, the two girls bask in the feeling of being covered in Naruto's cum. They didn't get to for long, however, when Naruto began rubbing his. Oh, open your mouths. Naruto panted as he felt another wave of semen coming. Complying with their boyfriend's orders, the two girls opened their mouths and were rewarded with another gush of semen. Kuretsuchi got her mouth filled before Naruto moved his to Zombina's. So good. I love you, Naruto. Kuretsuchi said in an ecstasy-induced haze as she began using her fingers to take some off the cum and ing it. Me too, Naruto. I love you so much. Zombina ed as she scooped up handfuls of cum, doing the same thing as the Iwa woman. I'm glad you liked it, girls. Remember, there's plenty more to come at home. Naruto said with a wink. We can't wait, Naru-kun. We should get back now, it's getting really late. Kuretsuchi said. The three teenagers then get dressed and clean up before walking back to their camp. You know, Kuretsuchi, I would have preferred to cum inside your. I love when I see my cum leaking out of it. You're also the tightest and best feeling one. Naruto said, turning to face his Iwa girlfriend, giving her a chaste kiss while Zombina pouts cutely. Looking at her blonde boyfriend, she smirks before lightly slapping the back of his head. Silly. As much as I would love that, I'm already pregnant. She said while looking down at her belly, rubbing it with a blush. I can't wait. Hearing the Iwa woman's words, Zombina only pouted again before playfully punching Naruto in the arm. Lucky. I wish I can have a baby with you. Too bad that I'm a zombie. Well, that's for you, Zombina. Kuretsuchi stuck her tongue out at the zombie girl. Don't you stick your tongue out at me, Kuretsuchi. Zombina growled. Hey, you two. We'll settle that later. Right now we're almost at the camp, so let's get a good night's rest. Fine, fine. The girls said. 10 minutes later. The three teens had finally made it back to the camp and spot Kakashi roasting several rabbits over the fire. Hearing the three teens approach, he looks up and smiles. Oh, there you three are. I thought you got lost or something, heh heh. The masked Jonin laughed. URG, Well, yeah, we did actually. Naruto said, scratching the back of his head nervously while the girls just smirk. Well, I'm glad you found your way back. Care for some fresh rabbits? Kakashi took off one of the rabbits and held it out for Naruto. Sure. Naruto reached for the rabbit when suddenly a large shadow looms over them. Taken by surprise, the four Konoha look up and spot what looked like a person. Covered by the darkness, they could only make out what appeared to be a cloak and angel wings. What the? Who are you? Kakashi shouted. The figure then slowly descended onto the ground. With the lighting from the fire, they were able to make out said person's features. She was a woman, a very stunningly beautiful woman that the mere sight of her made Naruto blush. The woman had short, straight blue hair with a blue origami flower. Her eyes were a lovely amber color with lavender eyeshadow. The most distinctive thing about her was what she was wearing. The Akatsuki cloak. You're a member of the Akatsuki. Naruto shouted out. And if I'm not mistaken, you're the son of the Yellow Flash, are you? Naruto Uzumaki. My name is Conan. The woman said. What the? How do you know who I am? Naruto demanded. Everyone in Akatsuki knows who you are. The container of Kyuubi and son of the fourth Hokage. Enough talk, you're coming with me, Naruto. Ha, as if. You're gonna have to take me dead then. Hard-headed young man. Conan then performed a hand seal and several chains made of paper shot out from her hand. The paper chains fly towards Naruto, who only jumps out of the way. Taking advantage of the situation, Kuretsuchi unsheathes her mother's katana and swings at the chains, slicing clean through them. At the same time, Kakashi and Zambina took out several kunai and toss them at the blue-haired woman while Kuretsuchi charges her with her katana drawn. Conan just watches as the kunai fly towards her. The knives hit her dead center in the face while Kuretsuchi performs a horizontal swing and seemingly decapitates the woman. I've got her, Kuretsuchi declared. However, their victory would be short-lived when the seemingly decapitated body turns into paper which scatters all over the place. Huh, what the? What kind of jutsu is that? Zambina exclaimed. The pieces of paper then slowly gather amongst each other, and after a few minutes of floating they come together, forming into Conan, much to the shock of the Konoha. What in the mother in Kami's name jutsu was that? Kuretsuchi asked, visibly shocked. Great. Judging by the looks of it, she is like me, only a paper version. Zambina quipped. Conan just looked at all of them with a stoic expression on her face. I guess it can't be helped then. I will just have to take you by force. The paper Akatsuki declared. Well, if that's the case, then go ahead and try, paper weirdo. Naruto declared before forming a Rasenshuriken in his hand and flinging it at the Akatsuki. The attack is useless, however, when it strikes Conan, breaking her into sheets of paper again. Okay, seriously, this is annoying, so I have no choice to use my Jangu. Zambina said before performing a hand seal, and to everyone's shock several weird, dark tendril-like things emerged from the stitches on Zambina's belly and flew straight at the female Akatsuki member. Conan had no time to react and was eventually caught in the weird technique, and reacting quickly, Naruto ran over and binded her hands together with chakra cuffs and pinning her arms against the small of her back, preventing the use of hand seals. I wasn't counting on one of you to have the Jangu. A frustrated Conan said. You can try to escape all you want, whether you cut through the material or burn it, it's just gonna keep coming. Zambina explained. Well, that went faster than I expected. Kuretsuchi said as Kakashi walked over. Here, someone gagged her. Kakashi held out a ball gag to Naruto, and the blonde complied by placing said gag into the Akatsuki female's mouth. Why do you have a ball gag? The Kuretsuchi and Zambina questioned with raised eyebrows. None of your business. Kakashi shouted. Pain Swama will kill you. Conan tried to speak, but to no avail as the gag made her speech muffled. What did she say? Kuretsuchi asked, confused. Bah, who cares? We just caught an Akatsuki member. Naruto declared cheerfully. Well, what should we do, Kakashi? Should we dispose of her right here and now? Zambina questioned. No, let's take her back to Konoha with us. That was the order, and I'm sure Ibiki and Anko would enjoy messing with her to get some useful info. The masked Jonin said. Sounds fine by me. Kuretsuchi shrugged before Kakashi picks up Konan while the other three pack up their tents and head back to Konoha. The trip back was relatively quiet, however, since Konan wasn't throwing a tantrum except giving Naruto some curious but death glares every now and then. Konoha Anbu HQ. After arriving at the gates of Konoha, the four Jonin and the still gagged and bound Konan were greeted by Izumo and Katetsu, who had freaked out since the four of them had captured an Akatsuki member. So after several Anbu had collected the Akatsuki Kunoichi, they went straight to Lady Tsunade to report the mission as a success, and after receiving their pay they all parted ways. Naruto, Zambina and Kuretsuchi decided to head back home and rest since they spent the previous night and most of the day walking back to the village. So Naru-kun, up for some fun? Kuretsuchi said, leaning her chest onto Naruto's arm. Yes, Naru-kun. Me and Kuretsuchi just can't get enough of the glorious of yours. The other girls are home waiting too. Zambina said, ing Naruto on the ear, making the blonde shiver. Alright then, if you two are so horny that you want me to you into unconsciousness, I'll be happy to oblige. Naruto said with a perverted grin as he grabs his two girlfriends by the waist and shunshuns back home. Anbu interrogation room. Alright, don't make us ask again. What the air you planning to do if you collect all the tailed beasts? An irritated Ibiki Morino asked the paper Kunoichi. For over 5 hours straight he and Anko had asked the same question non-stop, but the Akatsuki woman wasn't going to answer anytime soon. I'm not telling you anything. I promised my leader that in the event that I am captured I shall not divulge any information regarding the Akatsuki, whether its members, our strength, of what we plan to do with the tailed beasts. The Tide Konan said calmly. Grr. This shit, I'm going home. The irritated Ibiki said before storming out of the room. Anko just gave Konan a look before a light bulb appeared above her head. Aha, I know what can get you to talk. Anbu. An Anbu agent shunshined into the room next to Anko. Hey, go and get a Naruto Uzumaki please. Tell him Anko Mitarashi needs his help with something. Nodding, the Anbu then shunshins away, leaving the two Kunoichi alone in the room. And what is Naruto going to do? Konan asked, annoyed. Oh, just you wait and see. Anko replied with a sadistic grin. Naruto's apartment. The camera now shifts to the door to Naruto's room, and despite the rest of the house being silent, we can hear loud s and groans plus violent bed creaking being heard from Naruto's room. Ah, Naru-kun, just like that. Kuretsuchi ed out in pleasure as Naruto pummeled her with extreme force in the doggy-style position. Next to Kuretsuchi was Zambina, passed out from her with Naruto, and laying all over the floor of his room were Karen, Kurenai, Koyuki, who had moved to Konoha, Fu, Shizune, Yugao and Tayuya, all passed out from their furious marathon with Naruto. All their pussies, mouths and s beyond ed up and leaking out a huge amount of cum from when Naruto slammed them a few hours ago. Kuretsuchi, however, was able to last the longest in bed with Naruto, as she and the blonde have been going at it for 5 hours straight. Kuro-chan, I don't think I'll ever get enough of your tight. Naruto grunted as he picked up the power of his thrusts, making Kuretsuchi's rest her head on the pillow as she began ing loudly. Oh god, Naru-kun, yes. Kuretsuchi cried out in sheer bliss as she couldn't contain the utter joy her blonde boyfriend was giving her. Here it comes. Take it. Take my cum in that tight cunt. Naruto picked up the pace to near superhuman levels until he blasted a gallon's worth of cum up Kuretsuchi's vagina, filling every centimeter of it with his white seed. Oh yes. Kuretsuchi closed her eyes and relished in the pleasure of feeling his sperm flood her innards. After their orgasms, Naruto pulls out of the Iowa woman and he collapses in between Zambina and Kuretsuchi, hooking his arms around both their waists. Oh Naru-kun, that was so good as always. Kuretsuchi purred. And you'll get that every day, my lovely stone woman. Naruto cooed, giving her a kiss before planting his lips on the passed out Zambina's forehead. The two of them and the passed out Zambina cuddle for a few minutes before a knock was heard at the door. Man, Now who could that be? Naruto groaned in annoyance. Pouting in disappointment, Kuretsuchi let her blonde lover go. Naruto, however, forgot to put on some pants and just answered the door in his birthday suit. The person at the door, the Anbu agent Anko had sent to retrieve him, almost threw up at the sight of the Naruto. What the? I'll come back in a bit. The Anbu said. Man, it's not like the Anbu have open showers, so you should be used to seeing other guys as Coyote. Naruto chuckled. Well, you do have a point. Coyote said with a shrug. No, it wasn't Naruto being that almost made him throw up, it was the sheer size of his that caught him by surprise. Now, what is it that you want? I was about to go to sleep after jackhammering all my girlfriends into a coma until you came knocking. Naruto said with a hint of annoyance in his voice. Anko Mitarashi has called for your help in the Anbu interrogation chambers. So please get dressed and come with me. Coyote said before walking over to the railing and leaning on it. I wonder what she needs me for. Naruto thought before walking back into his room and putting on his clothes. Who was it, Naru-kun? Kuretsuchi asked from under the sheets. It was an Anbu agent and Anko apparently needs my help, and I'm assuming it involves that Konan lady. Ah, well, don't worry about me, Zombina and the other girls, go ahead and do what you need to do. Kuretsuchi said as Naruto proceeds to exit the room, but not before she blows him a kiss, which Naruto catches before he closes the door. Kuretsuchi then places her hands on her belly and giggled as she felt the mass of Naruto's cum moving inside of her uterus. Rubbing her belly, she sighs in satisfaction before falling asleep. Her breaths were slow and heavy while she had a crazed smile on her face. Exiting his apartment, he locks the door before turning to face Coyote. Let's go, Naruto said, and the two of them hopped through the roofs. Anbu interrogation room. Grr. Don't make me ask again, you Akatsuki monkey. What do you want with the Jinchuriki? An angry Anko shouted, but like Ibiki, the Akatsuki Kunoichi was not answering. Shut up, you snake-smelling girl. Konan said coldly. What did you just call me? Anko grabbed a kunai knife and placed it at Konan's throat just as the door opened. Turning, she spots Coyote in her favorite blonde gaki Naruto Uzumaki. About time, Foxy. Anko said, putting the kunai away. Well, I was just done plowing Zombina, Kuretsuchi and the rest of my harem and tried to fall asleep when Coyote over here came knocking on my door. Naruto said, giving Anko an annoyed look. Would you rather have me or an Anbu come and retrieve you? Anko snorted, making several snakes appear from under the sleeve of her trench coat. The mere sight of said snakes making Naruto and Coyote shudder in fear. On second thought, thanks for getting me, Coyote. Naruto said, patting the Anbu on the back. Sure, don't mention it, kid. Coyote said before he shunshuns. Turning back to Anko, Naruto then gives her and Konan a questioning look. So, what did you call me for, Anko? It's real simple, Foxy. I want you to try and interrogate this Akatsuki and see what you can get out of her. And I hope you know what I mean. Anko winked at Naruto, pointing at his crotch. When it hit Naruto, the most perverted and evil grin plastered his face. Oh, so you want me to use my secret weapon, huh? Naruto said, getting a nod from the purple-haired Jonin. That's right, Foxy. Do anything to get her to talk, will ya please? Anko then walked out of the room and locked the door shut. Let the begin. Konan, who was watching the whole exchange, was wondering what in the world the two Konoha Jonin were talking about. She then watches Naruto slowly walk up to her and leans his face just inches from hers. What? What are you doing? A now nervous Konan asked. You'll see soon enough. Konan was it. Naruto then picked the tied-up Konan bridal style and sets her down on her knees. Reaching for the zipper of his cargo pants, he then pulls it off along with his boxers in one go and tosses it to the other side of the room. What Konan saw practically made her eyes fly out of her sockets. Before her was the Kyuubi container, who had the biggest she had ever seen. Sure, before he died she had with Yahiko, but the orange-haired man wasn't very impressive at all when it came to size or stamina. The blue-haired woman felt herself getting instantly wet at the sight. Naruto chuckled, noticing that Conan was staring at his in an almost dream-like daze, and he swear he saw her drooling a little. You seem entranced by my Conan, why don't you taste it? Naruto said with his signature grin. No. Get away from me. Conan moved her head to face the other direction, but the blonde grabbed her by her hair and pulled her back to where she was once again face to face with his. Conan, Anko wanted me to get some information out of you. Get ready because I'm gonna have my way with you. Naruto then grabbed her mouth and prodded it open, much to the dismay of the kunoichi. Before she could protest, Naruto inserted his into her mouth, getting a good 6 inches in effortlessly. Damn, she's no virgin to ing. Naruto thought as he forced more of his into her mouth. New. Conan groaned as Naruto kept on forcing more of his into her mouth. After several minutes, Naruto had managed to get his entire into her mouth, with 7 inches of it being deep-throated by the kunoichi, and now he was aggressively thrusting into her mouth. Conan, however, was not enjoying this, as she was visibly struggling with eyes closed and face scrunched up in displeasure. Each of Naruto's thrusts rubbed against her uvula, but her experience in controlling her gag reflex prevented her from puking. Then Conan's eyes opened wide. What she thought was the unpleasant taste of Naruto's soon evolved into a pleasant one. His tastes much better than Yahiko's. I wonder what his cum tastes like. Conan thought with a blush. Soon enough she began in pleasure, making the blonde grin. Now she was falling in love with his and wanted more of it. After about 20 minutes of violent thrusting, Naruto's began twitching in her mouth. Feeling this, Conan used all her strength to break free from her bindings and reached up to grab the shaft of his with both her hands and began to pump him, desperate to taste his cum. Naruto grinned in amusement when he looked down and saw Conan pumping and ing him off. Right there he decided that she was finally cooperative and he let go of her hair. Conan. Naruto then reared his head back with his mouth wide open in a silent as his finally rocketed over 3 gallons of sperm into Conan's mouth. Conan ed in bliss as she felt the young man's cum flood her mouth, filling it to the brim that the excess white cream spilled out of her mouth. Pulling his out, Naruto looked down at Conan and watched her swirl the cum around in her mouth. Smiling, Conan nods her head and swallows every last drop of the white cream and sighs in satisfaction. She then looks up at Naruto. Wow. That was the best cum ever, better than Yahiko's. Conan said. Who the is Yahiko? Naruto questioned with a raised eyebrow. Well, he was my first love, but now he's dead. My friend Nagato is using his corpse and talking through it like some sick. Nagato is now known as Pain and is our leader. Conan answered. Good girl. Looks like Mai is capable of getting information out of enemy kunoichi. Naruto said, pulling his pants up only to be stopped by Conan. Wait. The kunoichi said. What is it? Naruto said. Naruto. I'll tell you everything I know. If you, please. I want more. The woman begged, making the blonde smirk. So you're saying if I pleasure you more, you'll tell me everything about the Akatsuki? Naruto asked. Conan nodded. You'll tell me how many more members you have, where all your bases are, what you plan to do if you collect all the tailed beasts, and how to defeat your leader. Yes. Please, me. Conan was practically begging at this point. She then goes to lay on her back and lifts up her cloak. Reaching for leggings of her outfit, she pulls them off along with her panties, revealing her very wet. Naruto then positions himself over the woman and guides his into her vaginal opening, pushing the sheer girth into her surprisingly tight vagina. It was so tight that he was having a hard time getting it in. It's been way too long since I've had. Conan said through gritted teeth as more was forced into her, making her feel like she was being split vertically in two. Damn, so tight. Naruto grunted. Eventually he wasn't able to get his entire into, so he decided to give a powerful thrust, and he manages to force all 17 inches of his ramrod of into the Akatsuki kunoichis. Oh yes. Conan cried out as she was stuffed to the max. Get ready, Conan, because right now I'm gonna you unlike this Yahiko ever has. Naruto said before thrusting in and out of her at a merciless pace. Yes. Kami, yes. Conan screamed in sheer bliss as Naruto's was reaching deep into her in places that Yahiko was unable to reach. The force he was using felt a bit excessive but felt so perfect. This is what a real man feels like. So much better than Yahiko. Damn, you're tight, Naruto said. The sound of flesh colliding with flesh echoed throughout the room as Naruto continued to mercilessly pound the Akatsuki kunoichi. The pleasure that she was receiving was making Conan like an insane person, and soon enough she felt her orgasm approaching. Ah, I'm coming, she cried out as her juices sprayed violently onto Naruto's, and so much that it left a huge puddle underneath them. I'm coming too. Naruto then unleashed a massive load of semen into Conan's vagina that it collected at her cervix. Feeling the warm sperm at her cervix, Naruto gave a sharp thrust that the head of his meat scepter pierced through her cervix, allowing the cum to gather in her uterus, successfully fertilizing her egg cell. Oh god, yes. Yes, Naruto. After feeling their orgasms die down, Naruto collapsed on top of Conan and the two of them were panting heavily after such a wonderful session. Despite this, Naruto had an evil grin on his face and performed a hand seal. Hearing a poof, Conan looked up and saw two more Narutos standing beside them both. Naruto. Don't tell me you're going to triple stuff me. Conan asked, slightly nervous of what was to come. Damn right. Now tell me what you know, or else me and the clones won't you. Naruto said sternly. Oh please, me Naruto. Conan begged. Grinning, Naruto then nods at his now clones and the two of them positioned themselves accordingly. The real Naruto laid on his back and positioned Conan on top of him, while one clone was behind her doggy style and the third was positioned in front of Conan's mouth. You going to tell me everything you know? Naruto asked. Yes. Just me already, I beg you. Conan yelled. Smirking, the three Naruto then insert their massive S into Conan's mouth, anus and vagina respectively, and did not hold back as the three of them thrusted with such force that Conan's screams of pleasure were muffled from the clones in her mouth. Damn boss, her is so tight. The clone giving Conan anal said. Her mouth is tight too. The other clone muttered through gritted teeth. Then shove with more force. Naruto commanded, and with that the three of them picked up the pace of their thrusting. Conan's muffled voice cried out as she was ed into pure oblivion. This stamina. No doubt this is from the Kyuubi sealed within him. Yahiko can only last a minute, but this young man can go on for hours. The sounds of three pelvises colliding with one kunoichi's body echoed across the room as the three Narutos continued the brutal onslaught on the kunoichi, who was ing her heart out at having all her orifices pummeled. The three Narutos then found the perfect rhythm. The real Naruto would thrust in while his two clones would pull out of the holes they were in. He would then thrust back in and, well, you get the idea. After roughly 5 hours of being triple slammed, Conan felt another orgasm approaching, and with the savage thrusts the three blondes were delivering to her, she couldn't hold it in as she closed her eyes. Her screams were muffled as she sprayed another torrent of vaginal juices, spilling on the real Narutos and forming a puddle on the floor beneath the four of them. The three machines soon felt their climax building up, and they picked up the pace to a godlike pace that they were literally blurs with how fast and hard they were slamming the kunoichi. You could call Naruto the next Yellow Flash with that speed. I can't hold it anymore, boss. One clone said. Me. Too, shit. The other said. Naruto grunted. Cum. Conan screamed despite having her mouth stuffed. I'm coming. The three blondes screamed out as they picked up the pace even faster than before as they all come to a halt. Holy. The blondes all said in unison as they each shot massive loads of cum into Conan's mouth and vagina respectively, filling each orifice down to the last inch with their white cream. Conan screamed in pleasure before her head droops. With their orgasms subsiding, the two clones dispel, leaving a tired Naruto with Conan. Looking up, he saw that Conan had passed out from the onslaught with a blush on her face and was now resting her head on his chest. Naruto. The unconscious Conan whispered with the cum spilling out of her mouth. Heh, looks like I'm having a baby with an Akatsuki member. Naruto chuckled as he got up and dressed himself. Picking up Conan bridal style, he then exits the interrogation room and heads home. However, he failed to notice Anko dispelling her henge, disguising herself as a chair. Damn, that sounded so hot. That was some amazing sounding of epic proportions. I really want to him. Anko said before looking down. She then lifted her skirt up and saw a huge moist spot on her purple panties. I guess I need to take care of that. Anko then shunshuns home. Hokage Tower. In the calm night of Konoha, we see our favorite busty blonde Hokage Tsunade looking through a pair of binoculars. In the distance, she spots Naruto hopping through the rooftops with that female Akatsuki member in his arms. Tsunade then puts her binoculars away and takes out a clipboard. The paper clipped to it containing a massive list with the names of various women. Let's see: Shiho, Hana, Hanabi, Mabui, Karui, Samui, Yugito, Mei, Amayuri Ringo, Tamari, Matsuri, Maki, Tsunami, Ayame, Isaribi, Shizuka, Ryazetsu, Tenten, Anko and Pakura. Time to call every single village for another summit. Tsunade giggled evilly before walking away. Just then all the women listed above sneezed simultaneously. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that awesome slamfest. So out of all the women listed on Tsunade's clipboard, who shall be next to bear Naruto's child? Let me know. In the forest in Fire Country, near the border of Kumo. It's been a little over a week since Naruto, Kuretsuchi, Zambina and Kakashi had captured Konan of the Akatsuki. After performing his little interrogation of the paper kunoichi, she had revealed all the locations of their bases that were scattered across all the elemental nations, how many members were left after she was captured, who the leader was and how to defeat him. For being cooperative after her moment with Naruto, Konan was granted an apartment 3 doors down from Naruto's and became a new Konoha Jonin. Ever since that night the two of them have grown quite close to each other, and now here we are. After Konan had divulged all the information, Tsunade had called upon another summit between all the elemental nations for 2 reasons. One was to devise a battle plan to combat the Akatsuki, and the second reason she kept to herself. She wanted Naruto to bag a few more women for his harem, and the Cage Summit was the perfect way to do it. Right now the camera shifts to a dirt path where we see a small group of Konoha shinobi escorting Tsunade to the summit, which will be held in Kumo. Among the escorts are Naruto, of course, Kuretsuchi, Zambina, Kakashi, Might Guy, and Genma Shiranui. Ba-chan, how much farther to Kumo? Naruto complained, slouching over. Honey, what did I say? You got to get used to walking or hopping long distances, because that's what the shinobi life is about. Kuretsuchi scolded the blonde. She's right, kiddo, you really gotta get used to it. Kakashi said, not looking up from his orange book. Complain one more time, Naruto, and I'll use my infamous finger F on you, brat. Tsunade said, raising the finger. Or I'll seriously turn you into a zombie. Zambina said. Oh crap. I mean, walking is fun, yeah. That's a good boy. Tsunade patted him on his back before heading out to the front of the group alongside Zambina and Kuretsuchi. Naruto decided to hang back a bit and be the last one in the group, but Genma decided to strike a conversation with his favorite blonde buddy who he befriended during the Chunin exam a few years ago. Pissed. Yo Naruto. Huh, what is it, Genma? Naruto asked. Is it true? Is what true? Is it true that you have a harem for the sole purpose of rebuilding your mother's clan? Genma asked with a perverted giggle. Yeah, how'd you know? Naruto was wondering where Genma was going with this. Kakashi told me that you told him when you were headed to Yuki no Kuni to shoot that film with Koyuki. Genma answered. I told that guy not to tell anyone. Naruto groaned, annoyed. Well, it's not really a secret when CRA is put into effect, you know, everyone is pretty much alerted to it. So come on, tell me. Tell you what, how many fine ladies and who is in it? Genma said, rubbing his palms together while giggling pervertedly. I'm afraid I can't tell you that. Naruto crossed his arms, looking the other way, avoiding Genma's grinning face. Oh come on, kiddo. Tell me. Genma pleaded, giving Naruto the puppy dog look. Naruto gave in. No matter who does the puppy dog look, the blonde will always surrender before whoever does it to him. Fine. Kuretsuchi and Zombina who are up front with Ba-chan over there. Naruto said, pointing to the woman in question. Yeah, you got the Tsuchikage's granddaughter and that zombie girl. Smooth. Who else? Genma complimented. Naruto cleared his throat before continuing. Well, there's Karen, Kurenai, Koyuki, that Fu girl who's also a Jinchuriki. Shizune and Yugao-san, and most recently Konan, who I helped capture from the Akatsuki. What? You got Koyuki, Kurenai, Shizune and Yugao. And an Akatsuki kunoichi. Genma almost screamed in shock that the senbon he usually chews on was ed into his throat, making him choke. After several punches to his chest, the senbon dislodged from his throat, landing on the ground. Kuretsuchi and Zombina, having noticed Genma's audible outburst, turned around and looked at the two Jonin. Genma and Naruto looked back at them with scared faces. The two kunoichi had expressions that looked like they were ready to murder both of them. That was until the two women in question stuck their tongues out while winking at Naruto before Kuretsuchi blew him a kiss and Zombina squeezed her ass cheeks, teasing their blonde boyfriend. Hey ladies, Naruto said with a wave. So. You said Shizune right? Genma said, getting Naruto's attention back. Huh, oh yeah, I have Shizune in the harem too. Why do you ask? Well, did you know me and her had a thing going a few years ago? We broke up the day you came back from your training with Master Jiraiya. We've been together for a while, but she never put out because she was never ready to have with me, let alone even kiss me. Genma explained. Ooh, well that's. Don't worry, she's in good hands and is about a month and a half in. Naruto winked. Man, you kiddo. So. How is she? Genma was very curiously about how his ex-girlfriend was in the sack. She's amazing, we do it all. If I had to rank who had the best feeling and tightest, it goes like this. Number 1 is Kuretsuchi. God, I can't get enough of her and how good and tight hers feels, totally my number 1 girl. Number 2 is a tie between Zombina and Fu. Since Fu is smaller in general, it makes her a lot tighter, while Zombina, damn Genma, her is amazing. Number 3 would be a two-way tie between Shizune, who I understand why she was a virgin since you just told me, and Yugao-san. The rest varies. Naruto said. Lucky son of an awesome ninja. Genma muttered under his breath. So. Is the harem just for or? There's strings attached. I do love them all equally and they love me too. I want to live together with them all like a big, happy family. Naruto said, looking at the Kuretsuchi and Zombina with a loving smile. We're almost in lightning country. Tsunade shouted out. Well, about time. This scene wasn't all that great anyway. Kakashi said, putting his orange book away. Yosh, that was a most youthful walk indeed. Walking and running long distances increases cardiac endurance, therefore making us all more youthful by the hour. By the way, Zombina, Lee is interested. Guy shouted in his usual loud voice. Zombina wasn't having it, however, as she then threw a Mach-speed uppercut at Guy, sending him into the Milky Way galaxy at such a velocity that he looked like a flare blitz from Pokemon. I swear the next time he opens his mouth I'll punch his head off. Zombina declared in obvious annoyance. Damn, Kuretsuchi thought with a sweat drop. Well, at least he's sent flying up the path of life. Kakashi thought with his signature eye smile. Well, I'll be. That zombie girl sure has some superhuman strength. Genma thought, using his senbon as a toothpick. That's my Bina-chan. Naruto thought with a smile. Holy shit, looks like she beat my record by 1,000,000 with Guy. Tsunade thought with an amused smirk. Raikage's meeting room. And that's how we will deal with the Akatsuki. Tsunade concluded. The other 4 cage. Onoki of Iwa, A of Kumo, Mei Terumi of Kiri and Gara Sabaku of Suna all nodded in understanding. Each cage was surrounded by 2 bodyguards, with Naruto and Kuretsuchi guarding Tsunade, Akatsuchi and Kuretsuchi's cousin Suzumaki watching Onoki. Samui and Yugito with A. Chojuro and Amayuri Ringo watching Mei, and for Gara he had Tamari and Matsuri watching him. So they have at least 2 bases in each of our nations, huh? Well then. Gaara said, showing no emotion. I have a feeling where their bases in my country would be. Spoke. We'll act as soon as possible. Onoki spoke just as his back snapped. I'm okay. Naruto and Kuretsuchi tried their best to contain their laughter. So, I guess we'll begin as soon as Onoki's back is better. Mei inquired. As the cage discussed the battle plans they wanted to use against the Akatsuki, Naruto wasn't really paying attention and instead was staring into space. Pissed. Naru-kun honey. Kuretsuchi whispered, trying to get the blonde's attention. Huh, what is it, Kuro-chan? Look. Kuretsuchi motioned her head in the direction of the Raikage and saw his two bodyguards Samui and Yugito eyeing him with interest. The look they were giving him felt like they were mentally saying, "Hello, handsome." Kuretsuchi just winked at Naruto before she paid attention to what the cages were saying. Looking back at the two blonde women, he just smiles and waves at them. The two women return his greeting by winking and blowing kisses at him. Blushing, he then inches towards Kuretsuchi and grabs a hold of her hand. The Iowa woman just giggled at her boyfriend's antics. Naruto, after looking away from the two Kumo kunoichis, inadvertently looks at Mei Terumi the Mizukage and her bodyguard Amayuri Ringo and saw that they was eyeing him with interest as well. They're hot, Naruto thought with a smile as Mei blows him a kiss while Amayuri her lips. 30 minutes later the meeting would be adjourned and the entire group disperses. Naruto and Kuretsuchi, being the horny couple they are, managed to sneak into a janitor's closet, and now the Iowa woman was pinned against the wall while sitting down while Naruto placed his hands on the wall and was in her lovely little mouth at ferocious speeds. Gah! Here it comes. Naruto panted and blew a massive load of semen into his stone girlfriend's mouth. Kuretsuchi ed out before Naruto withdraws. Damn, that was fun. What do you say we continue at the hotel, Kuro-chan? Naruto inquired. Gulp. Delicious as always. There's nothing like eating my Naru-kun's cum to satisfy my hunger. I love you, Kuretsuchi said with a smile. I love you too. So, want to head to the hotel? Naruto asked, putting his arm around Kuretsuchi. Sorry, sweetie. As much as I enjoy making love with you, I think those two blonde Kumo ladies would like to know you. Kuretsuchi said teasingly. Well, they really did seem interested in me. Are you sure, Kuro-chan? Naruto asked. I'm sure. Besides, I can just touch myself to the picture of you in my wallet anyway. Kuretsuchi said, winking at him. But I'd rather have my stuffing you. Naruto whined. Too bad. Go find those two ladies. Kuretsuchi then took off before Naruto could even say anything. Sighing, he then set off to find those two blonde Kumo kunoichis. Kumogakure Red Light District. Out of boredom, Naruto had ventured into the red light district of Kumo at around 10 at night, since usually the so-called hot women would be found here. Naruto decided to try finding those two Kumo ladies here. Finding a bar called the Thunder Cloud, he walked in, and the moment he did, he saw two patches of blonde hair relaxing at the bar. Hey, is that them? Naruto thought to himself as he goes to walk over to the bar. Taking a seat next to the two blondes, he orders a drink before tapping on the shoulder of one of the blonde kunoichis. Hey, Naruto said, getting the attention of the short-haired blonde woman. Turning, the woman, revealed to be Samui, smirks when she is greeted by the blonde teen's face. Why, hello, handsome, what brings you here? Samui asked. Well, I saw you and the other blonde lady giving me looks of interest at the summit. I decided to come and find you guys. Naruto explained as his drink arrives. Ah, so you came all the way here just to find me and Yugito here? Hey, Yugito-san, Samui said, tapping the other blonde woman on the shoulders. What's up, Samui? Yugito said, turning around. Samui points over her shoulder. Spotting Naruto, Yugito smirks pervertedly and gets up from her seat and sits next to Naruto to where the Kyuubi container was sitting in between the two blondes. Hey there, handsome, how's the Kyuubi container doing? Yugito asked seductively while caressing Naruto's whisker marks. Just looking for you two pretty ladies since you gave me looks earlier. Naruto said, taking a drink from his glass. Oh, so tell me Blondie, what's your name? Yugito asked. Naruto, Naruto Uzumaki. He answered. Naruto, the blonde, unpredictable ninja of Konoha. We've heard things about you and aren't you quite the looker? Samui said, leaning her chest against Naruto's arm. Firstly, let's have a few drinks, Naruto. Think you can keep up with two Kumo Kunoichi? Yugito asked. Bring it on, Naruto challenged. After an hour of drinking small shots, the three of them were feeling a bit tipsy, and despite the alcohol polluting their systems, they were still very focused and alert. Samui, who felt even more flirtatious than before, leaned her chest against Naruto's arm. Feeling her massive cleavage, Naruto blushed before speaking. How about we get some rest, ladies? It's pretty late now and I don't want you to pass out at the bar or on a street corner. Hick. Sure, Naruto-kun, please take us to our house. Yugito said with her voice slightly slurred. Then let's go, Naruto said, wrapping his arms around both their waists, and they walk out of the thunder cloud. Samui and Yugito's apartment. Let the begin. The door to Samui and Yugito's apartment swings open and in walks the tipsy Naruto, Samui and Yugito, and the sight before us would make even the biggest of perverts blush. The two ladies were embracing Naruto and the three of them were engaged in a heated makeout session. Oh Naruto, you're such a good kisser. Samui said as she and Yugito shove Naruto through the door to Yugito's room and basically tackle him to the bed. That's what having a harem does to you, Samui-chan. Naruto said as Yugito takes her turn to make out with the blonde boy. As Naruto and Yugito battled with their tongues, Samui would lean her massive cleavage from behind Naruto, pressing her against Naruto's back, and reached downwards to massive his flaccid, wanting it to become hard for her and her colleague. Yugito, wanting to tell Naruto something about her, leans her head close to his ear and in a seductive voice whispers, "Have you ever had with another Jinchuriki?" Naruto's eyes widened in surprise hearing this. I have. Would you like to be my second one? He said in a sultry tone. Oh, I take it you already have that cute little Fu girl claimed. Yugito asked. Yeah, I do. Get ready because we're gonna have some insane Jinchuriki. This will be fun. Yugito, you can go first. Samui giggled as she gets off the bed and sits in the chair beside it. You sure? I would like for us to double team him, Samui. Yugito asked. I'm sure. Go ahead and tire the boy out. I'd like to see if he can keep up with me after. Samui winked at her colleague. Naruto and Yugito's mindscape. Once again, Kurama was seen watching the UAL exchange between the two blondes with a bag of popcorn, some chicken wings and some Mountain Dew voltage when suddenly the door opens. Turning to see who it was, he spotted Matabi, the two-tailed cat. Yo, Matabi. How's it going? Kurama greeted but was caught off guard when the cat leapt onto him and began ferociously eating him on the lips. Kurama was unable to say anything and returned the affection, nuzzling his nose against Matabi's. What's gotten into you, Matabi? The fox asked. I love you, Kurama, Matabi admitted before eating him again. Hey, I always knew you did, you damn. Kurama growled before flipping the cat over and positioning himself behind her. Hope you're ready to get plowed doggy style like a bitch and heat you. Kurama said. He then positions his 100-foot long and 50-foot wide fox against the S. The two blonde Jinchuriki continued to exchange their saliva and rubbing their tongues against each other when suddenly Yugito had an idea. Say Naruto, let's bring our beast's chakra into play. Yugito said as unties her hair from its signature ponytail. Yugito and Naruto then resume their kissing and begin a battle of tongues that seemed very animalistic as they were legitimately spitting into each other's mouths and swapping it back and forth. Naruto would up the ante when he grabbed both sides of Yugito's face and proceeded to violently shove his tongue into her mouth, in every single nook and cranny of her mouth before letting nibble on his tongue with her canines. Hey, Naruto, let's take this to the next level. Yugito said as she performs a handseal, and to Naruto's pleasure Matabi's chakra began flaring all around her. Opening her eyes, they turned into a yellow color with cat slits for pupils as her hair grew wilder. This is going to be fun. Naruto said huskily as he flares Kurama's chakra, making his hair grow spikier and his eyes turned crimson red with slits for pupils. Take your clothes off, Yugito-chan. Complying with his command, they both rip their clothes off. Oh boy, two Jinchuriki going at it, this will be fun to watch. Samui thought as she takes her clothes off and goes to pleasure herself. With his newest lover butt in front of him, Naruto goes to lay on his back and began rubbing his enormous which, thanks to Kurama's chakra, made it appear much larger and more veiny than it usually did. Noticing Yugito-ing her lips with some drool spilling out of her mouth, Naruto wiggled his finger beckoning the woman to come for him. Scared of being wrecked, Yugito? Naruto asked teasingly as he rubbed his faster. Oh, I'm just about ready to wreck you, Naruto-kun. Yugito said before crawling over in a feline fashion and grabs it with both her hands. Opening her mouth, she engulfs over half of the in one go, partially deep-throating it. Oh shit. This lady's an experienced Naruto thought with gritted teeth. So tasty. Yugito thought as she began eyeing him off very aggressively. She thinks she can better than me. I'll show her. Samui thought as she continued to finger herself. Yugito increased the force of her ing and the speed of her pumping and head bobbing. She basically made Naruto a ing mess. Holy shit, Yugito is so good. Naruto thought with his eyes closed. Yugito ed as she felt Naruto's twitching in her mouth. Shit, her blowjobs are so good, I'm already ready to come. Grabbing her by the head, Naruto forces it all the way down onto his, putting all 17 inches of that massive spear into her mouth, with over 10 inches of it getting down her throat, partially into her stomach. Take this Kyuubi container, cum. Naruto cried out. And thanks to having the Kyuubi's chakra flaring around him, his eruption loads were much bigger than when he ed the other ladies and shot a little over 8 gallons of cum into her mouth with such power that her cheeks puffed out near instantaneously and over half of the cum spilling out of her mouth, while at the same time Samui had managed to finger herself to an orgasm and squirted a huge amount of juices that some of it sprayed on the other blondes. SWO, Tastwi. Yugito ed despite having her mouth stuffed. A minute later his ejaculation ceases and he is left a panting mess. Damn, that was the quickest orgasm I've ever had. Still, I prefer Kuretsuchi. Looking up, he watches Yugito scoop up the cum that had spilled onto the bed and puts it back into her mouth and swallows it all down in one big gulp. That was the best cum I've ever tasted, Naruto. Yugito said, smiling. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Ready to get to the main course? Please. Yugito then positions herself atop of Naruto's massive and sits down as quickly as she could, literally impaling all 17 inches of it into her, making her scream in pleasure. Wasting no time, Naruto sits up and embraces her in a hug and viciously thrusts into her at a merciless pace, and Yugito began ing her heart out as the young blonde teen continued to ram into her. Samui saw the speed of which Naruto was thrusting into her colleague that she sped up, fingering her oris, making herself loudly at the Y scene. Resting her head on Naruto's shoulders, Yugito could do absolutely nothing as she was continuously ed into oblivion. The eerie purr in her voice, thanks to Matabi, making Naruto hornier by the second. Damn, so tight. Gonna have to fix that. Naruto thought as he halted his thrusting and placed Yugito onto the floor, much to her confusion. Huh, why did you stop, Naruto? Yugito questioned, and she got her answer when Naruto straddled her left thigh and placed her left leg on his shoulder before jamming his back into Yugito's, moistened, making her in sheer bliss. Dear ing God. Oh God. That feels so ing good. Yugito thought to herself as her S were replaced with rapid pants, showing Naruto how much she was enjoying his plowing. You like being ed like this, Yugito? Would you like me to you like a bitch in heat all day? Naruto grunted, feeling Yugito's vaginal walls contract every now and then. God yes. You're so ing good. My needy little. I don't care, I don't want to walk anymore. Yugito screamed out before panting again. Naruto continued plowing his massive into Yugito's when he felt his orgasm approaching. Here it comes. Take it. Take my cum and have my babies. Yes. Shoot it all up my cunt. Yugito said before Naruto picked up the pace at such a speed that Yugito was now squealing in pleasure. Shit. Here it comes. Take it. Naruto growled as he blew his load straight up Yugito's cunt, getting it all in her uterus. Damn, that was amazing. Naruto pulled out and saw that he had literally ed Yugito in unconsciousness as he then reverts back to original form. Hey, guess she couldn't handle the Kyuubi container. He boasted before turning to face Samui, who had just finished fingering herself to another orgasm. Seeing Naruto smirking at her, she blushes. Is it my turn yet? She questioned. Come here then, Samui-chan. Naruto motioned for her to come to him and she does just that. So what do you plan on doing with this of mine? This, Samui said, taking her clothes off. She then grabs Naruto's and places it in the valley of her and the sheer size of them. Damn, she's as big as Bina-chan. Naruto thought before he was sent to Pleasure Land at the feeling of his veiny being given a titty from the busty blonde Kunoichi. The soft and warm feeling of her left Naruto in an ecstasy-filled daze as Samui bobbed up and down at a faster pace, making Naruto groan out loud. Fuck. Naruto whispered to himself before he started thrusting upwards, adding more pleasure for himself. You feels so good in between my Naruto. Samui said as she lowers her head so that every time Naruto would thrust, the head of his would enter her mouth. Each thrust of his hips inside Samui's lovely cleavage sent new waves of pleasure coursing through Naruto's body, and soon enough the soft mounds combined with her mouth taking in the head of his proved too much even for his iron will. Here it comes. Ah. Naruto groaned, almost growled as he gave a powerful thrust up, shooting a powerful burst of sperm landing on Samui's face. Oh, so much, and it's really thick. Samui said, releasing the blonde from her and used her finger to scoop up every single drop of cum while Naruto watched her. How's it taste? He asked with his grin plastering his face. Best cum ever. I feel like I just ate a whole meal. The cloud woman said with a smile. Well, that's only part one of me ing you until you pass out. Let's get started. Naruto said as he pushes Samui onto her back and gets into a missionary position. Don't get all soft and gentle on me, Naruto. I haven't had a good, hard pounding in a few years, so go all out. Samui commanded as she reaches down and grabs his swollen. Alright, not my fault if you get put in a wheelchair. Naruto grinned before shoving his entire into her with incredible force that the bed almost broke. So long, so thick. Samui squealed as Naruto began pounding with everything he had. Single quote exclamation mark. Oh, I've never been stuffed like this before. So tight. I'll have to fix that. Naruto said before flaring his Kyuubi chakra again, which amplified the power and speed of his thrusts by over 50%. Yes. Me like a madman, Naruto. Jam that up my cunt until it breaks. Samui squealed at the top of her lungs as she was surely getting ed into oblivion as each thrust of sent his entire into her depths and she felt it punch through her cervix and striking her womb that she yelped a bit in between her squealing. Oh Kami, I've never been so full in my life. Ah, I love you, Naruto. As Naruto continued thrusting, Yugito, finally awake, heard the commotion and smiled seeing her colleague get utterly obliterated by Naruto. Sitting up, she taps Naruto on the shoulder, making the blonde halt his attack on Yugito. Turning, Naruto was greeted by Yugito smothering her ample all over his face. Oh God! Naruto's muffled voice screamed out as Yugito continued to smother her boobies all over his face. However, under those awesome of Yugito's, Naruto smirked and quickly produced a shadow clone. Oh, you're going to regret surprise attacking me like that, Naruto said as the clone grabbed Yugito and pulled her off of Naruto and the bed, pinning her against the wall with her pointed outward. What the? A surprised Yugito said before looking over her shoulder and spotted the clone grinning. Oh Kami, just me, you damned shadow clone. The Jinchuriki begged. As you wish, the clone said before pounding her with everything he had. Oh. Yugito and Samui screamed in unison as the two blondes mercilessly pounded into them with every fiber of their being that, like with the previous girls, the Narutos were literal blurs. The sounds of flesh colliding filled the room and soon enough the two Narutos felt their orgasms coming. Boss, I can't hold out any longer. The clone got out as he continued to pummel Yugito. Just let it all go. Ga. Naruto grunted, actually scratched that he growled as he delivered one final and very powerful thrust into Samui that he slammed her against the headboard with so much force it broke, and soon enough he delivered his load into her. Enough that her belly slightly bloated from how much there was. The clone did the same exact thing with Yugito and finished her off with a thrust so powerful that he partially shoved her into the wall with an imprint of her body before delivering his own load into the other Jinchuriki. With his load properly and surely delivered, the clone gave the real Naruto a thumbs up before dispelling. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, Naruto got up to stretch and looked at the hole in the wall. Damn, the clone sure made her his bitch. Naruto thought before walking into it to pick up Yugito. Walking back to the bed, he places the unconscious Jinchuriki and goes to lay in between her and Samui. One thing he noticed was, like Yugito, Samui was also unconscious. Did she pass out during our furious or when her head hit the headboard? Doesn't matter, I ed them both into a coma and I'm having a baby with another Jinchuriki. Goal. But first I'm gonna need a bigger house. Naruto then wrapped his arms around both their waists before falling asleep himself. However, he failed to notice a figure moving away from the window. The camera shifts outside and we spot Temari, Mabui, Karui, Mei and Kuratsuchi, who were all watching the entire session. Kuratsuchi had a huge smile on her face while the other girls were blushing furiously at such a sight. You girls there. Yoo-hoo. Kuratsuchi said, trying her hardest to contain her laugh. Each of the girls had different thoughts going through their heads. Holy shit, who knew the squirt would be such a god? I mean, I've tried having with Shikamaru but he always complains. Guess Naruto's gonna be the one claiming my virginity and womb. Temari thought, blushing but with a smile. Damn, I think I should apologize to him for beating him senseless. I hope he can forgive me. Karui thought to herself. Seriously, who knew that kid Tsunade brags about would be so hung? Time to have some crazy, wild again. I always wanted to try Konoha. Mei thought. Men here in Kumo have virtually no drive and have micro S. Looks like I'll have my first Konoha male. Mabui thought with a perverted grin. Seeing the lustful expressions on their faces, Kuratsuchi just couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing. I hope they know what they're getting